My name is Susan, and welcome to the Scent of Beauty. I want to do a part two on sacred. And the reason why I've been still meditating on sacredness was because I know so many have the idea of sacred as being a cathedral or a church building, a synagogue, a temple. Um, and I wanted to talk about another way of defining sacredness and how it applies to the scent of beauty. I want to expand, I want to elaborate more on sacredness and how it pertains to our psyche. Sacred in the sense of inviolable. Inviolable in the Latin word, I love the way I always look at the Latin definition because it brings it down to the bare essence of a word. And inviolable in Latin, it's broken down in with two words, actually three words, not to violate. Another definition is it must be respected. How often or how many times have we heard or even said it ourselves, you don't respect me? The insult to our intelligence is allowing the sacredness of our psyche to be desecrated by another human being. And desecrated, it's, do you know, listening to constant complaining is is really and truly desecrating to our psyche, to our minds. Our psyche becomes a um, garbage dump and infill. And when we have lost our serenity, there is a violation. I mentioned the RNA transmitting transmitting the messages, transcribing, excuse me, the messages that it, copies from our DNA. But in that, transmitting, if I'm listening to negativity, constant complaining, that interrupts the frequency, the vibration, and it changes the message every time we think about what was being said. That's what I'm talking about, the serenity of, the scent of beauty in our psyche has now been infiltrated by what? And it not only infiltrated, but it has been desecrated by our interaction, or do I say sometimes our inaction, inaction to the protein that we are formulating right now, our cell bodies have picked up and is literally carrying the germ, the pheromone of another individual chemical. It's actually chemical insertion. The reason why I wanted to talk about sacredness, it's because I want to, emphasize how so often we pour out our our sacredness, what is in our internal DNA in the core of our being, our Adam, who we are. And in doing that, we expose our Achilles heels. We expose our Achilles heel carefree. We don't even stop for a moment to consider if we need to exercise psychological caution. We have heard the words, you're spilling the beans. And how many times have we sat down and really consciously look at how we ourselves have allowed our being to be at a disadvantage because we lack that sacredness of our psyche, that ability, and it is an ability. Some of us have the capability, while others, through practice, weaken and or harm this particular part of themselves. So we share ourselves with other people, with other human beings, and vice versa. Another human being share who they are with us, and without that sacredness, inviolable, again, another definition, not to be broken, that sacredness of our psyche. I said it in my other videos, that vulnerable member of our being becomes very ill. I've noticed when our psyche is not treated with that sacredness, there is a strain that is put on our minds, on our brains, our transmitters, and that strain, it's very painful, psychologically painful, overexerting our thought process to try to make sense out of what occurs when our psyche is not held with a sacred hand or heart. That's our way of applying damage control. When I initially heard the word serenity, sacredness, I myself had placed these words in these exceptional reserve places for particular people, human beings, the mystical. And I would place these words in places that held these domains. But our psyche is a domain where all of our individual elements come together and it joins as one. A wholeness occurs, and it's shared. Every part of it, every individual piece, when it gathers together and become one, it forms this united belief. That is the domain. That is a sacred place. A definition of serenity is clear. When the sacredness of our being is in situations where we have lost our scent of beauty, our pheromone to think rationally, when logic is lost. Climate change in our internal world, it is the gift of having the sacredness within ourselves, the desire to have the scent of serenity. We know who we are and how much to share with individuals. That's what I've learned about the sacredness of my being, is that the sacredness is not to be given to every and all. The gift of selection helps us to care for our psyche, so our psyche is not being ruffled. Combustible energies, chemicals flowing through our psyche. Again, another sentence that another statement that we make at times, that we state at times: I feel like I'm gonna fall apart. These words that we use to describe our feelings, hopefully the scent of beauty is conveying where, at least, the core of where these thoughts are coming from. We're tracing it back to our psyche. So, serenity, being serene, and sacredness, therefore, any individual who desire a pheromone of the scent of beauty, which is the quality of being peaceful and calm, the state of being untroubled. I loved one of the words that I came across when I was looking closely at the word serene, and that's unclouded. What a gift. That is the scent of beauty, when in my psyche, our psyche, we have been given the gift of not of the gift of a clear airwave. And isn't that what we desire, what I desire? The scent of beauty again.